So in today's class, we shall understand Mendel's laws of inheritance. So there are three laws. The first law is law of dominance. And the second law is law of segregation. The third law is law of independent assortment.
Yes, ma'am.
So we shall do the first law, that
Law of
is
dominance.
Mendel's law of dominance. That is the first law. Okay. So first take down what is Mendel's law of dominance. Mendel's law of dominance can be simply stated as in a cross of parents that are pure for contrasting traits, only one form of the trait will appear in the next generation. Offspring that are hybrid for a trait will have only the dominant trait in the phenotype. Now let's take an example for the first law. So example 1 is Mendel crossed two pea plants. One tall pea plant having alleles capital T, capital T. Homozygous for tallness. And one short pea plant having alleles small t, small t. Homozygous for daphnis. And the tall pea triad is dominant over short pea plant triad. Then the second law, that is law of segregation. So what do you understand by the first law? That is also called as Mendel's law of dominance. So in a cross of parents that are pure for contrasting triads, only one form of the triad will appear in the next generation. Offspring that are hybrid for a triad will have only the dominant triad in the phenotype. Then this is law of segregation. This is the second law. So let us write the statement. The law of segregation states that every individual organism contains two alleles. So the law of segregation states that every individual organism contains two alleles. That is two forms of a gene for each triad, and that these alleles segregate. Segregate means they separate during gamete formation such that each gamete contains only one of the alleles. Okay. An offspring thus receives a pair of alleles for a triad by inheriting homologous chromosomes from the parent organisms. That is one allele for each triad
Yes, ma'am.
from each parent. So in the pea plant example, these are represented by three generations. What are the three generations? P, F1 and F2. What is P? P is parental generation.
F1 and F2 child generation.
That is true breeding parents. So we can take capital P for purple or small p for white flowers. We are talking about flowers here. Now what is F1 generation?
Child 1, child 2. Hybridization.
Hybrid.
Flower.
Capital P, small p.
Purple and white.
So all purple flower bearing plants. Then what is F2 generation?
All white bearing plants.
No, here you have three types of plants. Number one is capital P. Capital P is for purple. Capital P, small p is for also gives you purple because dominant is purple. That's why. And small p gives white. So now here you can see The capital P represents the dominant allele for purple flowers, and small p represents the recessive allele for white flowers. So both parental plants were true breeding. That is, one parental plant was homozygous for purple flowers, that is capital P, while the other was homozygous for white flowers, that is small p. So as a result of fertilization of the F1 hybrids, each inherited one allele for purple flower and one for white flower. So all the F1 hybrids, that is capital P, small p, had purple flowers. Why? Because the dominant P allele has its full effect in its heterozygote, while the recessive small p allele has no effect on flower color. So for the F2 plants, the ratio of plants with purple and white flowers, that is 3:1, is called phenotypic ratio. 3:1 is phenotypic ratio. And the genotypic ratio, as we have seen in Punnett square, it is 1:2:1. One is for purple, the two is for capital P, small p, that is dominant is purple, recessive is white, and one is small p. So dominant purple, that is capital P, or small p, small p, and recessive white, that is both small. Phenotypes look alike in the F1 generation, and they show a 3:1 ratio in the F2 generation. So this depicts the second law of Mendel, that is law of segregation of genes, because the alleles present in F1 plants were segregated and each gamete received only one of them. So these gametes combined together in F2 generation to give 3:1 ratio of purple is to white flowers, as depicted by the Punnett square representation. So the phenotypic ratio 3:1 is known as monohybrid ratio. What is this called as? Monohybrid ratio, because the experiment was conducted taking into consideration of only one triad, that is the flower color. Now next, moving on to the third law, that is law of independent assortment. Law of independent assortment, that is the third law. So Mendel's law of independent assortment states that the alleles of two or more different genes get sorted into gametes independently of one another. So, in other words, I can say the allele a gamete receives for one gene does not influence the allele received for another gene. So, in order to predict the inheritance of two characters associated with two different genes, we need to know whether the two genes are inherited independently or they stick together and get inherited as a unit. So, to solve the problem, Mendel conducted a dihybrid cross, taking into consideration two characters at a time, that is, the seed color and the seed shape. So the seed color he has taken yellow or green, and the seed shape he has taken round or wrinkled. So he found that different genes were inherited independently of one another following the law of independent assortment. So let me give you the details of dihybrid cross P generation. So Mendel crossed two pure breeding pea plants, one with yellow and round seeds, that is represented by capital Y, capital Y, capital R, capital R. This is yellow and round seeds. With small y, small r, that is green and wrinkled seeds. So Mendel crossed two pure breeding pea plants, one with yellow and round seeds and the other with green and wrinkled seeds. Because each parent was homozygous, the law of segregation tells us that gametes made by the plants with yellow round seeds must be having YR alleles, while the gametes made by the plants with green wrinkled seeds must be having small y, small r alleles. So, hence, all of the F1 dihybrid plants must carry a genotype of capital Y, capital R, small r. So, this was about dihybrid cross P generation. Now, let us see what is F1 generation. So the F1 dihybrid seeds were yellow and round with a genotype of capital Y, capital R, small r. So the allele for yellow seed color, that is capital Y, was dominant to the allele for green seed color, that is small y. Similarly, the allele for round seed shape, capital R, was dominant to the allele for wrinkled seed shape, that is small r. So Y is for seed color and R is for seed shape. So F1 plants were all yellow and round because they received both the dominant alleles for yellow capital Y and round capital R seeds. Because of being heterozygous for two genes, that is capital Y, capital R, small r, there is a combination of capital and small, so it is called as heterozygous. And the F1 plants were called as dihybrids. So a cross between two dihybrid plants is known as dihybrid cross. Dihybrid plants means fertilization between two dihybrid plants I'm talking about. Then next is F2 generation. So the F1 dihybrid plants produced four different types of gametes. That is capital Y, capital R, small y, capital Y, small r, and small y, small r. So we can predict the genotypes of F2 plants by placing these gametes along the top and side axis of a 4 by 4 Punnett square and filling in the boxes to represent genotypes of the plants. So completion of the Punnett square predicts four different phenotypic classes of offspring: yellow round, yellow wrinkled, green round, and green wrinkled, in a dihybrid ratio of 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1. This is called dihybrid ratio. 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1. And the phenotypic combinations of yellow wrinkled and green round seeds were not present in the parents. Hence, they portray the new combinations. So, this indicates that seed shape and seed color genes are sorted independently. And the F2 generation plants designate that capital Y and capital R alleles of the yellow round seed and the small y and small r alleles of the green wrinkled seed were not inherited together as units. Instead, the alleles of the two genes were inherited as independent units. So, had the genes been assorted in pair, that is capital Y, capital R, and small y, small r, so plants with green round and yellow wrinkled seeds would have not been produced in F2 generation. So, this 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1 is dihybrid cross phenotypic ratio. So, 9 is yellow round, 3 is green round, again 3 is yellow wrinkled, 1 is green wrinkled. So, this was all about Mendel's laws of inheritance.